What's up, everyone? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sawyer Brothers Show. Please be sure to follow and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and then follow our podcast accounts and SDI accounts on all socials. We post daily on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. We appreciate the support and listens greatly. On today's episode, I speak with Nick Trela, a former NCAA Division I college hockey player. After 5 seasons of college hockey, Nick recently graduated and started his business career in New York. He grew up in Trenton and played youth hockey locally for Trenton and Victory Honda. He then played 2 years for the Trenton varsity team before playing 2 years of 18U AAA for Bell Tire and Victory Honda. He then made the jump to the North American Hockey League and played 2 years for the Amarillo Bulls. Following his junior hockey career, he played 5 years of college hockey at the Division I level. He played 4 years for St. Lawrence University and a 5th year for Long Island University. I've known Trela for a very long time. I was a few years older than him, but he played youth hockey and high school hockey with Griff, so we grew up around each other. I've got 2 things that always stick out with me when I think about him. First, his career path growing up wasn't necessarily the flashiest, but his love, passion, and resiliency allowed him to turn his dream into a reality. What I mean by that is he wasn't the guy that played AAA his whole career, got drafted into a top junior program at 16, and committed to a college as a true freshman. Although he was a great player, his journey required an extra level of commitment to navigate each step of the way. He played AA travel hockey as a freshman, he played an extra year of 18U AAA hockey after graduating high school, and he used the full eligibility period of junior hockey before entering college as a 21-year-old freshman. That journey requires a different level of grinding, and I admire him for that. The second, he's remained the same humble, respectful guy that he's always been. We all know people that reach a certain level and immediately become extremely cocky, and that's not Nick. He's proud, as he should be, but he's humble and appreciative. I'm sure those characteristics will be obvious as you listen to this conversation. I'm happy to have him join me for this episode, and I hope you enjoy. All right, we're live. Trela, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. What's new in your life? Obviously, you're done playing. You're on to the next chapter. What's new with you? What are you up to?
Yeah, so a month ago, August 15th, I moved to New York City. I accepted a job back in June, and that was my time to head to the Big Apple. And right now, my job is I'm selling cyber security. That's kind of like the 10,000-foot level of things. I love it. I mean, I don't know why God put me in this scenario, but I just got back from Dubai. I'm with really good people. I feel like I have purpose in life, and it's been awesome.
Nice. No, that's great. I know when I texted you like a week or two ago to set this up, you said you were going to Dubai. That's not where everyone says they're going, so that was a little random. Was that just a client meeting, or what was that there?
They called it a Vision Summit. So every 2 years, I work for a tech startup, so everything's ever-changing. The vision changes over time with the growth, and it was the time where they try to get everyone in the company to get together to at least introduce each other, see name to face. You're on most of the teams in India on the back end doing the coding and the engineering work, so most of the time you're on the computer talking to these people, and it's a good time to just get away from your day-to-day tasks, but also meet the people that you're driving to the ultimate goal with this company. And it was a great time. We spent 72 hours in Dubai. Yeah, we got there the first day. We had a bunch of conference meetings, and then they planned a yacht party, so we got to go on the Persian Gulf. Nice. Like speechless of how beautiful it was. And then the next night we had like a black tie affair. They did the yearly awards for the company, and then just hung out and got to know everyone, which was awesome.
Nice. That's good stuff. Now you're settled back into New York City, probably a little different pace, a little different vibe, but that's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, cool. So just give us a background on your career start to finish. It's funny. When I'm going through the notes, I'm always thinking about memories and stuff just naturally when I'm going through this process. And I think the first memory of you that I have is, I think it was one of the Trenton 3-on-3 tournaments. I mean, this was long, long time ago, maybe like 05, 06. So I'm probably like 10, you're like 7 or 8 or something.
Yeah.
And the reason I remember it is because you had on all the Reebok gear, just like Crosby at the time. Like, Reebok, the helmet with the squares and everything. And I remember the shootout and stuff. So that's my first memory. So walk us through the your background of your career.
Yeah, and I actually still remember that as well. If you want me to go into that story real
Yeah, yeah,
quick.
absolutely.
So I was obsessed with Crosby. Like every kid in my age group, it was either Crosby or Ovechkin. They entered the league at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Crosby. Had the fortune to watch him play the first time in Detroit. It was like mid-December 2005.
Mm.
But he had a video where he was picking up the puck, flipping it, doing 360s, and I was like, I want to learn that. Like,
Yep.
I want to be just like Sidney Crosby. And we were in this summer 3-on-3 tournament you're talking about, and every kid got to do like a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
And being 6 years old, I think at the time, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it. And
Yeah.
uh, I ended up doing it,
Mm-hmm.
picking the puck up cleanly, doing a 360, hit the goalie's shoulder. But at
Yep.
that point, no one cared. It was just a 6-year-old doing something cool. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember going back into the line, and Coach Brad Risner goes onto the bench and he goes, da na na, na na na, like the old Sports
Yeah.
Center top 10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
that's that story. But going back and looking back at my career and where my journey took me, just like many of the people you've interviewed before, started out in Trenton. I did Trenton Mini Mites, and then our group kind of broke up right away, and I found myself on Woodhaven Mite A. That was the first time my dad was a coach on the bench. I was with my cousin Brent as well, and my uncle Chris was a coach there. After that year, moved to Grove Zeal, Mite Double A, and that's where we kind of got like my core group of friends of like Ryan McKincheck, Alex Lysette, Cam Ottenbright, who we eventually move on from that season. And then we made the jump to AAA when it was like the first year of Squirts. That's when there was only 5 AAA teams, the original 5.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was fun. Traveled a lot when I was younger, and I didn't really think of much of it. But looking back at it now, those are cool memories. I still talk to probably 3 or 4 guys on the team regularly, and I still consider them good friends. And then after that year, I moved on. I don't think it was a place for me. I wasn't developing well enough just because the pace of play was fast. But then I made the jump to play with Griff on the Trenton 98s
Mm-hmm.
for a year, which, looking back at it, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me how to hit. It was checking, their first year checking. It taught me how to play with bigger and more physical guys or kids at that age. And I was a late bloomer, so I had to think the game faster. I had to be more strategic,
Mm-hmm.
which at 10 years old, it's a great skill to develop because it honestly helped me later once I got into the freshman year, sophomore year of high school. And then after that year, I went back down to the Trent 99s, and that's kind of where we started to build our group for the high school, started to build relationships. Those were the kids you saw every day at school. I mean, the people who listen to the show finally understand like the landscape of Trenton and Trenton hockey. Um, Spent 3 years there, and after that, we had a split. Some guys wanted to go JV route to get into the high school funnel system. I didn't think that was best for my development, and decided to go play a second year Bantams at Victory Honda Double A. Reconvening with like Cam Ottenbright, Jason Branshaw, Matthew Schaumburger, who were on my Bell
Mm-hmm.
Tire team, and we had a lot of fun. We were dominant, I'd say. but it was a tough district because Canton Victory Honda was in
Yeah,
like
what's
the
that,
USA
D4?
Eagles.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
toughest one. USA,
yeah,
Birmingham, CompuWare. They always
yeah,
say D4 district is basically like winning a state championship in a sense because you gotta get through like 6 teams that are legit at every birth year.
yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't physically mature enough to play like JV. I know Dante on a podcast earlier said that he was the smallest guy. I would have been the smallest guy as well. Um, I got to tailor my competition to where I was at, and it was great for my development. And then sophomore year, made the high school team. Um, that like it wasn't an end all be all goal. My ultimate goal was to play Division I college hockey, but that was a huge rung on the ladder that I accomplished in my life. That felt great that I accomplished it, but
Hmm.
in the moment you're like, okay, I have so much more to do and so many things I want to accomplish as well. Played 2 years there. We can get into this. I left for my senior
Yeah.
year to Bell Tire 18U AAA to play with for the Michigan legendary coach Chris Corey, which
Hmm.
I think I had the biggest blessing to play for the two biggest characters in a good way for
Hmm.
18U AAA in Michigan.
Yeah.
Um, met another great group of guys, had a great culture. Really developed my skills. Pace of play was the biggest thing. Moving into 18U AAA, and then from there I thought I was going to make the jump to juniors. Uh, Went to a couple main camps. Wasn't the right fit. Got cut at pretty much all of them, and it was either like go play the junior B route in Canada or slow my roll and play another year of 18U AAA. And I went to Victory Honda to play for the infamous Brian Burke.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think that's that year where I took a step back and really developed my skills was the thing that propelled me to get to where I was at St. Lawrence and Long Island. So very grateful for that year, both on ice and off the ice. Just because you're out of high school, you have to fill your time up with other things off the ice, and what better way than is to just dedicate yourself when you have the time to your craft.
Absolutely.
Then from that year, I made that. But let's back it up. When I made or after that year, I finished, and I was already planning on going to Grand Prairie in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. I signed in January a letter of intent. Really excited. Great league at the time. Still is. All those Canadian Junior A hockey programs are top notch. But all my friends were on Amarillo, and
Hmm.
so that when you're 18, you want to be playing with your friends. It doesn't matter how old you are. So I went to the main camp with a warm lead. Like I've been in conversations with Rocky, the guys that were down there that were my friends. I went to the pre-draft camp with no tender, no guaranteed spot, and kind of just showed up to camp and was like, no matter what, I'm gonna get a tender out of this camp. And Keith Knighting tells a better story of that camp because he was there as well. But I
Hmm.
ended up getting a tender out of the pre-draft camp.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and that's pretty much was like a no-brainer for me. On that team there was 10 Michigan guys, one including one of my best friends, Jay Branshaw, and so I was like, okay, let's go. Went down, played 2 years there. In between my first and second year, I had the privilege to represent the North American Hockey League and overseas in Russia. Played at the Sirius World Cup. That was a fantastic experience. Then came back for my second year. Unfortunately, COVID kind of shut it down. But before that happened, I received a offer to go play Division I college hockey at St. Lawrence. Played 4 years there. Ups and downs, whether it was COVID, whether it's the team success, whether it was my own personal success. Uh, had a lot of opportunity to grow. And then because of COVID, I had a extra fifth year that the NCAA granted, and I wanted to pursue it for more than just hockey. I wanted to start my master's, get more technical skills, and also have the opportunity to play at another Division One club. And after that year, I was like, I think it's time to hang him up. There's more in the world for me to explore, and that's what brings me here today.
Yeah, that was earlier this year, correct?
Yes, that was March 1st was my last game.
Nice. How does
Yeah.
that feel that you're done playing and now it's, a new season getting started and it's your first time in your life you've never played? How does that feel?
I think because I'm in New York City, it's too busy to really take a step back and realize I haven't been near a rink since I've been in the city. But if I'm going to reflect on it now, yes, it feels weird. 20 was it 22 years of my life I played hockey,
Hmm.
and now it's different going into the fall. But also I'm enjoying it because I get to do things that were always on my mind, wanted to do, and I wouldn't say hockey was a constrictor or inhibitor of those things, but hockey was a priority 24/7, 365 for those 22 years.
I mean, you went and watched Crosby 20 years ago this December. So that puts it
Yeah,
into perspective. You said December of '05. I mean, Crosby's a rookie that year. That's when you go and watch him play. Which, side note, I went and watched him play in the Cup final in '08 when Detroit was hosting like game one of that Stanley Cup final. So that was pretty sick. So a few years after that, but I mean that's a long time ago. So for the fact that you're on the next part of your life, I mean, my mom always says that it was like she met a new version of me when I was done playing hockey because I was able to do different things now. And it
yeah,
wasn't just so stressed on everything, skating and working out and shooting pucks. I could actually be a person, which was, could do things like this. I could coach. I could go to school. Like it was good stuff. So I
yeah.
feel that
Well,
completely.
I know we've talked about that earlier in the summer when I came home and
Hmm.
the SCI Elite League was going on, but you got into coaching pretty much right away, but
Hmm.
it was inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Well, that's all good stuff. That you have an interesting background on your whole career. So, lot to go through here. So, I guess I'll just start. You mentioned, and we'll kind of bounce over the place here because you've got all different pieces. But you mentioned that you left high school after your junior year to go play AAA. I remember going into the rink to Taylor one day, and your dad was standing out there, watching you practice. Which, on a side note, I feel like your dad was one of the dads that I talked with like more throughout like your career, my brother's career, because you guys played on so many teams together and you guys were just around that I would always kind of stand behind the net and talk with the dads, and your dad was always one of them. So I feel like I knew your dad pretty well at the time.
Yeah.
And just a great guy and a true hockey dad. But I remember going there, you were just starting at Bell Tire, and he had just said, just a different opportunity. So talk on that decision and what that entailed.
Yeah, and at the time, a probably the toughest decision I had to make in my life. Um, at 16 years old, and you've grown up in Trenton, you've gone to games every, was it Wednesday and Saturday for the past
Yep.
12 years. Like you bleed the blue and gold. But there were some things internally, like Brandon Morgan leaving to go play junior hockey early. Um, Nico Potostato, who was one of my closer friends, um, going to play at Oakland Junior Grizzlies. The class above me moving on. Yes, in hindsight, it would have been our turn to lead Trenton hockey. But looking at the big picture, kind of like a 10,000-foot view, I still needed to achieve my goals, and my goal was to play Division One college hockey. And I wasn't. I'm not going to say I was the smartest one in the room, but where's the opportunity that it's going to push me the most, and that was at Bell Tire. And Chris Corey reached out after one of the skates. He says, "Would love to have you on the team." Hearing from other people that played for Chris Corey, there was nothing but good things to say. And it seemed like a no-brainer to go play with faster, stronger, better hockey players on the grand scheme of things, across the country playing AAA at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, and Chris Corey's a legend. I mean, he's another guy that started coaching when I think he was 18 or 19 when he started coaching as well. And when you played for him, he was what, in his 60s, maybe early 70s, but I would say
Yeah.
probably in his 60s at some point. I mean, that's 40, 30, 40, close to 50 years of coaching at that point. So he's a legend of the game. Talk about him and Brian Burke, because you mentioned that you played for Brian Burke the second year of AAA with Honda.
Yeah.
So you played for Chris Corey for 1 year, Brian Burke the next. And like I posted the clip on our accounts a couple weeks back of Dante talking about Brian Burke, and like the whole comments are they're just flooded with people being like, he's the best, he's awesome, I love him. And it's players and coaches about Brian Burke. So talk about those two guys.
Yeah, to preface my time with Chris Corey, there is a Facebook page out there that you can look up that says I played for Chris Corey, and it's just stories upon stories of 40 years of people enduring what we call Coreyisms. Um,
Wow.
he's a character. He's just an old soul. Has a lot of experience. I mean, he was a Red Wing scout when they used to take trains to Toronto and Montreal, and he has tons of stories like that. But there's like his mind evolved with the game, but his methods stayed the same, and they were still very effective. And I think that's a testament to why he was coaching at the 18U level for so many years. He's coached successful hockey players in the NHL, but he was a one thing he was an empath. Like he just understood you. He cared about you. Anytime your parents were going to games or practices, after he would take off his skates, go shake your dad's hand, go say hi to your mom. He just a salt of the earth type of guy, and it bled in the locker room too. And I think that's another reason why we had a great culture there with a
Mhm.
lot of the guys I still keep in contact with, is because he was very relaxed. He was systematic in a way, but would just roll four lines. Would even just roll four lines through power play. He let you develop. He let your game develop, and that's just a testament to the people and the players he's moved on to different leagues. He has multiple players that play in the NHL. And then Brian Burke, he same thing. He's been around the game forever. His journey has taken him all across America, and even spent some time in Canada. And his network is unbelievable. I remember my first Super Showcase, so Tier 1 Showcase was in Pittsburgh. He's just at the glass watching hockey, and there was like two or three Division 1 coaches in a period going up to him. He's like, "Hey, Berkey, who do you got?" And he would give him two to three players that to watch out for. And
On
it's
the
all about
game he
network.
was watching, not your game.
No, the players on his team.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we played later on, and he was just watching casually, and to have big logos, Division One logos, come up to him and ask him and be trusted in the advice he gives, it speaks volume to his journey, his how would I say it, trustworthiness, and the connections he's made, and that's when I knew I was in the right place. Is when I had two 18U coaches who had your best interest 24/7 throughout the entire season. And same with Chris Corey, Berkey just let you play. Like the state championship story Dante told,
Hmm.
there's a bunch down the list for that, that I endured during my time at Victory Honda. The one thing that I think he told me every single day, he goes, just because at that time I grew into my size, and he wanted me to be a power forward, and he was teaching me how to be a power forward, and he goes, I just want you to go straight along the wall, cut across into the crease. If you run over the goalie, you run over the goalie. And in Arizona, I had like an off game, my first game, and he just said, "Hey, what did I tell you?" And I just spit it back at him like for verbatim, north south across the crease. He goes, "Okay, go do it." And we're playing the LA Junior Kings, and I did it, and the goalie came out a little bit, and I just clipped him, like ran him over, took the goalie out of the game, feeling terrible. I get back to the bench, and Berkey obviously isn't the type to want anyone to get hurt, but he goes, "It's that easy."
So, just because he's proven the point that you're doing the right thing and that you're playing the way he wants you to play. So you mentioned like, and I mean that's just awesome tidbits of stuff about these two guys.
Yeah.
Were they guys that they would yell? Like, did you ever see them just like lose it and just freak out on you guys, or was that just rare for them, or how'd that handle?
Corey more so than Brian Burke. Chris Corey, there was multiple times where he would disagree with the ref, and he would open the door and just walk onto the ice and make sure his point was heard. Then there's sometimes
Stuff. I mean,
old school stuff.
The old school stuff. Just open the gate. Just put your feet on the ice and just. I
Yeah.
mean, I would never even think to do that, but it's just there's so many stories of just that time where they did that stuff.
Well, he had also his an old lineup card. I swear he's had 1,000 of them since the 80s, because the paper on the lineup card was like a hint of yellow. So, and he would pull it out, get on the ice, and start wagging the lineup card at the ref. He was passionate, and it came from a good place of heart, because he wanted his players to be successful, and he wanted to win. He was a competitor. The one thing off the ice was Chris Corey loved when the guys were in the pool. He's like, we get to a tournament, go be kids. Don't just be in your hotel rooms alone or with the guy you're rooming with. He's like, he would text in our group chat, and he goes, pool session from this time to this time. And then looking back on it, he was just making sure we were making the best memories out of a sport that has the possibility to create the most fondest friendships and the best memories. But Berkey didn't yell at us too much. I'm sure there was one or twice, maybe 3 times, but seeing it so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, every coach has their different strategy. It's interesting to hear you say the pool part. The concept behind it, I totally get. Like, for me, I always say, like, when all the teams, there's 2 curfews. The first curfew is a team room curfew, meaning you have to be in any of the rooms that are with your team. So you can't be in the lobby, you can't be in the pool, you can't be anywhere else. You got to be in one of those rooms, but you're supposed to be with your teammates, not in your own room. And then the second curfew is normally like an hour later, and that's when you have to go to your actual room, and that's to go to sleep. For the same reason, like, we want you to just go out. We don't just want you to sit in your room the whole day. We want you to go hang out, play video games, like tell stories, do all this dumb stuff, but just make those memories with your team, but also just, keep it on the tracks a bit. And then when it's time to go get your rest, you get your rest and you're ready to go the next day. So it's interesting that the pool, because I mean, I remember being a peewee, and it was just like, maybe even a squirt. It's like, no pool. We're no longer playing pool or going in the pool. If you want to go in the pool, you should join a swim team. That's what our coach said. So it's good stuff.
There was one more story. So this was back on Bell Tire. We have a super showcase at the North Jersey Avalanche's rink. So we're in North Jersey, and Chris Corey planned a whole day in New York City the day before the showcase starts, and all of us walked like 13 miles, saw like from Central Park all the way to the Statue of Liberty, And there's a couple Coreyisms in it, but we stopped for lunch, and he loved his quad blonde espressos. Like he lived on coffee, and we're getting the pizza, whatever, and he ordered his quad blonde, and he just I don't know if he didn't realize we're in New York City and it's gonna be probably 5 times more expensive, but the
Right.
quad blonde came out and the lady's like $16, please. He looks at the coffee and then he looks at her and he goes, "No, I'm not paying it. Not paying it." And
Did he
then
just walk
he goes,
away?
"No." He was the lady's like, "Okay." He's like, $16 for that, and he's like, "I'm not paying it." And then he looked at the guys for the rest of down the line. And he's like, "All right, we're going somewhere else." And then there's people or the guys still like just starting to eat pizza. And he's like, "Eat fast, be down in like 3 minutes."
Wow. No, I was gonna. I mean, it's just that's crazy. Just probably not even like you said, not even focused on it because it's gonna be New York City. It's gonna have that premium cost on everything. That's
Yeah,
funny. No, those
but it
stories on the road are the best. I mean, like last year we went in Chipotle after a game with Gabriel Richard, and you got 20 guys walking into this Chipotle, and you all have the same jacket on, and so everyone's sitting there is kind of getting their head up. They're like, "What's this coming in?" And you all go down the line and you all order, and the whole staff is just like, "This is nuts! Like, how are we gonna make all this food?" For
yeah.
me, I put it on my rewards points, so I had like 3 burritos free for the next couple of weeks, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, it's there. Those stories on the road is what we all remember someday. I mean, proof is in the pudding with how we're talking about it right now.
Yeah,
That's 7, 8 years ago, and it's like just you're gonna tell those stories forever.
yeah, 100%. And those are two great guys who helped me. I want to emphasize who helped me tremendously in my career, but also kept it light. And I've made memories that A, I'm telling now, and B, I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Exactly, exactly. You leave AAA and you take that jump to Amarillo, which, like you said, sounds like it was some personal reasons with friendships. I mean, 10 Michigan guys on one junior team. I mean, that's like half the roster almost, and it's a whole other spot of the country. It's in Amarillo. My grandparents are actually from there. My mom's parents were born and raised in Amarillo. They moved to Michigan when my grandpa got his first job as a doctor. So weird connection or random connection for us to Amarillo. But you're down in Texas. What was that experience like? You played 2 years there and got ready to make that jump to college hockey. But what was that transition from AAA to juniors to get ready for the next jump to college?
Yeah. Well, they say the toughest jump for any hockey players from senior year of high school or 18U to juniors. It's just a different landscape. It's the first time where it's a business, and there's a first time where you have to find ways to stick out, or else you get moved on. It's a results driven business, even though hockey is a very process driven sport. And the biggest thing for me was being a sponge, whether it was for the coaches asking to do video, asking on the bench in real time, what did you see there, or just leaning upon the veterans on the team. It was like, how can I learn as much as possible to actually put a plan of action in the process to where I'll see the success. I think at that time, 2018, 2019, North American Hockey League was spitting out 50% of their players Division One commitments. You do the math. I had 2 years of eligibility. It's pretty probable that I was going to get that commitment. It's just how can I focus on myself, learn as much as I can to be one of those successful guys who, after 2 years, got the commitment. One thing that made it really easy is we started the season 11-0,
Mm.
my first year, which was really good. Coach Rocky was in a great space. Even though he was pushing us every day, it's really easy to keep the guys and keep the culture in place when you're winning. And he was continually to grow the culture. And we had some heavy hitters. Brendan Dadema, who was a big defenseman, ended up with 20 goals plus that season. Logan Genuine broke the North American Hockey League goal record that year as well. That was a fun spectacle to watch and to be a part of. We ended up clinching playoffs in like January, right after we came back from break, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And the best part about Amarillo is we had practice in the morning, workout after, and then we were on the ice. We had the ice until 6 p.m. So most of the guys hopped back on or went and did physical therapy, got treatments, or sat down with the coaches and did video. Rocky and our assistant coach George was there from 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m. So you're thinking about all the time they're doing, whether it's recruiting virtually, watching video, or helping us get better. They did anything you asked of them, and that just creates a really good culture of getting better and finding those 1% every day. And it showed in the process and the results. We ended up going to the Robbie Cup semifinals that year as well. Fell short, but it was still probably, looking back on it, my top 3 seasons for myself, whether it was the fun I had, the things I learned, and my development.
Wow. And so what happens the rest of the year or the second year? Are you guys hot for 2 years, or was it mainly just that first year?
We were hot for 2 years. We COVID shut us down my second year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it was Lone Star who was in division and us at the top of the league once they shut it down. But we had a good core group of guys still there. We only had, well, we had 11 people or 11 players leave for Division One. So we had to
Whoa.
bring in like half the team, but that's right. You're a successful team in the North American Hockey League. You're gonna
Yeah.
have half the team leave to go play bigger and better. But because we had the success the year before, it helps with recruiting. We got really good prospects that were making the jump to juniors. Not as hot as a start as we had the previous year, but towards the end, I mean, we were right there with Lone Star 1 and 2, flipping back and forth weekend to weekend, and then COVID shut us down.
Do you were you guys like fully confident that you were winning it that year, or because of those losses with those players, were you just you're in the mix, but you weren't thinking for sure?
I think the biggest thing was to win regular season, so we were living in the moment because we were flip flopping with Lone Star. We knew if we got past Lone Star, there would have been a good chance that we would end it up. But we learned in the previous year, it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season, things happen. Injuries happen in playoffs. Bounces don't go your way in a 3-game series. A goalie gets hot. Someone scores a big goal in a big time moment, and then your season's over. We had belief that we had the people to make a good run, but we'll never know because it got cut short.
What I say about that year, and then there's so many. Everyone has a story that got cut off, and they were with this team, and that was getting ready for the tournament or the playoffs and all that stuff. Obviously, high school ended the day of the state semis and all that. So it's just heartbreaking. There's so many stories. The joke I always say about it is I coached 4 teams that year. I had a mite team, I had a Pee Wee team, a high school, and I was with the high school team and with U of M Dearborn for college. I knew of those 4, one of them was for sure the weakest. That was my youngest team. They were mites. They were like 8 years old. So I knew going into that season, I had 3 legit chances to win a championship. And the only season that was able to finish before it was shut down was those young guys, the mites. So I always laughed that it's like the only team I didn't really care about finishing the season with was that one for the championship reason, and they're just so young. Where
Yeah.
with our Pee Wee team, we had a chance to at least finish the season strong in league championship. with GR in high school, like I think we win the semi and potentially go, and then we go to the final, and who knows what happens then. And then with U of M Dearborn, we were getting ready to go to the national tournament. I believe it was in Dallas, so we would have been down in your area. But it's like there's so many of those stories of guys that didn't get to finish what they were doing simply because in the middle of March everything shuts down. So that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it on a personal level, there's so many people that could have used those 2 months to either push their hockey career along or achieve something very special. And it's just the way of the land at that point, right? Looking back
Yep.
at it, it's something that we don't take for granted and learn from it.
You it worked out for you in those months. So it was, I'm sure, a stressful time for you and then so many other people as far as figuring out what was next. But at that point, you're wrapping up juniors and getting ready to, figure out what's next with college. You end up going to St. Lawrence. When did that occur in that process? When did you commit? Because, like you just said, I mean, there's 2 months or 3 months of nothing happening. So how'd that all come about?
Yeah, I think my official announcement of my commitment was January 28th ish, maybe February. I was it happened all pretty fast. I'd say a month. I was injured for most of November of my age out year and brought a lot of stress, right? Because you're just as much as you want to be involved with your team, there's still more hockey to be played after that year. So you focus on other things like your commitment, like where you're gonna go, things of that nature, and then you're obviously very worried about your production because production's a big tale of if you're gonna make it to the Division 1 level. Get hurt in November. It was a very stressful time, right? But the only thing you could do is wait. Uh, Had a decent December, came back after that, and just kind of set my thoughts aside and just be at the rink, be a rink rat, and then the production will come. There's no real reason to worry about those things. Ended up talking to St. Lawrence for the first time early January, and they were planning on coming down and watching me play in Odessa, and I thought that was like the biggest thing, like a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves, um, and then we get to that weekend, and the first night I miraculously had a hat trick. That's pretty much all she wrote from there. Um, yeah, like
When you say they were coming on to watch. Who's they? Assistant
uh,
coach. Who is coming?
yeah, the assistant coach Ben Murphy, who was the primary point of contact for me at St. Lawrence. He said he was flying down, which from St. Lawrence to Odessa, Texas, it's
It's a
no easy
commitment.
trek. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big commitment. And Odessa was towards the bottom. I wouldn't say they were inferior, but they were towards the bottom of our division. And I had just miraculously found myself in the right place, right time, a couple times. And the old story goes it, you only need is one good weekend. Um, yeah, and that Monday, Ben Murphy called me again and was like, "We're gonna extend you an offer and a spot on the team." And then by that Wednesday, talked to my parents. Seemed like a good fit. Seemed like a good place to explore career outside of hockey academically, as it's a great school for alumni network. It's a great academic school and a pretty historic program when you're looking at the college hockey landscape. So I was like, it's a no-brainer. Very small, intimate school. They just did renovations on the Appleton Arena, so it had all the bells and whistles and yeah. By Wednesday, I was like, I'm in. I don't even think I worried about the what the offer was. I looked at the new renovations of the rink, and I'm like, I'm so sold.
What's that feeling like? Like he calls you, and then what do you do? Do you just sit there and you're just in shock? Do you call your parents right away? Like, what do you do?
I think because I remember I was at the kitchen table in my billet's house, and my billet dad was home. He's a firefighter, so he was on one of his off days. And I think I got off the phone. I was like, St. Lawrence just said like they're offering me, and it's just like in shock. And he's like, "That's sweet, dude. How you feel?" And I was just speechless. Like,
Yeah.
my brain couldn't process that. And then I think I called my parents right after that, and they had some more logistical concerns, as parents do, because
Hmm.
they have more experience than a 20-year-old who just had an offer to
Exactly.
achieve his goals.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was like talk to my coach, see what he heard through the back channels. Is it a good fit? And then after all those were a go, I called Coach Murph right back and was like, I'd love to accept the offer. And by nighttime, it was a done deal.
What a time. I mean, that's just like
Yeah.
years and years and years of hoping and working and waiting for that moment. And it comes when you're sitting at some kitchen table in Amarillo, Texas with a
Yeah.
firefighter. It's like
Yeah.
you don't even how does it just kind of happens that way.
Yeah.
So you figure that out, like were you in talks with other schools? Did you hear when you go and talk to your coach that next day and pick his brain, has he heard of other schools that were talking to you, or what was that situation?
There was other feelers out. I was talking to a couple other schools as well, but they're so close to the top prospects weekend for the North American Hockey League, and they're like, why don't we just see you in person? It's like a central point of all the top guys in the league. We'd love to see how you stack up, and that's
Hmm.
a reason why so many people earn commitments from that is because you're playing against the best in the league. It's an all-star weekend, and I was like, I could bet on myself for that, but also like, why would I waste this opportunity at St. Lawrence when looking at the grand scheme of things, it's exactly what I wanted to do or be at when I was 5 years old. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, you have the blue bloods in Michigan, like Michigan, Michigan State, Western, but outside of that, a rink that was built in the 50s, a small campus where everyone's going to know who you are, you're going to know everyone. Renovations, they just put $15 million into the amenities. So it was like almost a perfect fit. And to get a degree at a school I probably wouldn't have gotten that degree, like pedigree of a degree outside of high school, or outside of hockey, going from high school. It was like I need to just take this opportunity and run with it.
100%. I mean, it's years later and it's hindsight, but I mean, I think that's one of those things you just exactly like you said. You got to just acknowledge it and like really consider the whole opportunity, and then just that you just got to go with it. Like
Yeah,
you don't know what happens at that next weekend, or they find another guy and you're just being greedy and it doesn't work out. Like those are that's I'm sure it's there was some comfort of knowing where you were, and now you're like, all right, I know my home. Like I
yeah,
know what's next for me, and hopefully what's next for me for the next 4 years, because that's such a big decision and big commitment that if it goes the right way, like you're making a long-term commitment to this group and they are with you too. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
absolutely.
That's a great story. So you go there, the schools in New York, you just mentioned a little bit about it. You said smaller campus, they had just redone the rink. You said it's called Appleton Arena. Where does Appleton come from? Do you know? Is that named after a coach or a guy
It's
or?
it's someone who was prominent in the St. Lawrence community. Oliver D. Appleton, big donor. The golf course on campus is named after him as well. So it's a family name at St. Lawrence. It's been around for, like I said, since the 50s. It started actually as a basketball arena, turned into a hockey arena.
Oh wow.
When the SLU hockey program moved from outside, they used to play games outside to an indoor rink. Which another funny story about Chris Corey. I called him. He was one of the guys I called when the offer came. He's like, it's a no-brainer. Back in the 70s, and he goes on to a story that he lived through when he was scouting for the Detroit Red Wings. He's like, uh, I flew in, and it's a small town, and with about 8 feet of snow, and they're playing Clarkson, which was our
Yeah,
rivals,
your
and
rival,
we
right?
didn't, yeah, the Route 11 rivalry. And he said, I went to this local coffee shop, and I asked, what time should I get to the rink? And I think the cashier said like 5, and he gets to the rink, and there's a line all the way down the street, just waiting for the rivalry. And when he was telling me the story over the phone, I got goosebumps, and that was another uh, like okay, like this is something I have to witness and experience.
So for those that don't know, that's Clarkson University. They're what, green and yellow, right? Green
Green
and
and
gold or
yellow.
something. They're
Yeah,
near you guys, and it's like that's your school's biggest rival, correct? Um,
yeah.
I when I looked up when I was going through your stats and stuff, I kept seeing things that said rivalry between St. Lawrence and Clarkson, and there was all these things on the Wikipedia that said like at the intermission, where when there's like a minute left or something, there's like the student section chants about Clarkston. Is that accurate, or is that just like an old school thing?
No, that's accurate. And we'll keep it kid friendly of what they're chanting. I mean, tickets open up on Monday at 8 a.m. and by Monday at noon, it's sold out.
Wow.
Both rinks hold about 3,500, and they're standing room only. I remember my sophomore year, we ended up scheduling an exhibition game against Clarkson at Clarkson, and we're doing dynamic warm up on the concourse. And the way the rink's set up, our locker rooms in a tunnel, but like to access the tunnel, you have to go through the stands and like climb down a ladder and get to the tunnel. And the student section at 6:30 when the gates opened was full. The whole basically our whole zone, because they set up in the opposing zone,
Oh, okay.
they were already filled, like the whole bowl, and we're jogging past to get to our locker room, and it is just screaming. Uh, they're yelling at us. They're throwing popcorn. The band is just playing like was it Return of the Jedi? The
Mm-hmm.
that chant going on.
Yeah.
It's cool. I still get goosebumps talking about it. But yeah, Clarkson University is 9 miles down the road on Route 11. There's so many infamous stories about the rivalry. I think the coolest one that I heard, which they don't do it anymore, is you would play Friday night at Clarkson, Saturday night at St. Lawrence
I love a home
on
and home. That
a
is
home and home.
perfect for a rivalry in the same weekend.
Yes,
I love that.
yes. So Saturday morning, there would be three Clarkson students and three St. Lawrence students with the game puck from Friday, and would pass the puck along Route 11 and would show up around 6:45 at Appleton Arena for puck drop with the same puck that was used at Cheel Arena on Friday.
Wow, that's sick. That is cool.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just tradition of like years and years and years of it being built up. That's a
yeah,
cool story. You obviously like there's Clarkston. When I went through like your conference, you guys are in the ECAC. You guys play like a lot of the Ivy League schools that everyone would recognize: Harvard, Dartmouth, Cornell, Colgate, Quinnipiac, Union, Yale. Like, what were those experiences like playing these schools that you were familiar with your whole life and going into these barns, and they're obviously coming in yours. What was it like playing all these big programs?
yeah. I mean, so freshman year, the only four teams that opted in to play because of COVID were us, Clarkson, Quinnipiac, and Colgate. So with the COVID restrictions, all the Ivy Leagues shut down. There was only four to play. So my first experience of experiencing all these away rinks was my sophomore year. But you walk into each of those barns, and I say barns because of the history, and
Hmm.
it's beautiful. There's so much history behind it. It's breathtaking the first time you see all these places. Even though you have a job to do, there's still a part you can be a human as well and
Yeah.
enjoy just the college hockey atmosphere. Cornell is probably my favorite and the toughest to play at Lina Arena. I think the reason I choose that is because we were 2-1 in my career against Cornell at their
There you go.
place.
That'll help.
But the history amongst that conference and the quality of hockey, the amount of people that go on and play pro, the history, I mean, and even like the conference finals being at Lake Placid, to have the opportunity my senior year to go play at Lake Placid for the Final Four of the ECAC was a once in a lifetime experience as well.
What is your schedule like when you're there playing Division One college hockey? You guys skate every day. You have off ice. You're obviously balancing the academic side, which especially at a school like you already mentioned, I mean, they take that stuff so seriously at that university. So what's your like typical week like during a season?
Yeah, in season Sundays are off unless you're traveling, then you'll have Monday off. But the week leading up to the games, Monday will be like, let's just get up and down the ice, let's get sweating, let's get touch pucks, let's get back into the groove of things after the off day, and then we'll have a hour and a half lift, and then we'll have recap video, and then from there, we practice it in the evening just because of class schedule. We would spend probably 20, 30 minutes doing recovery, whether it was hot tub, cold tub, sauna, getting work done by the athletic trainer, or just going and riding the bike. And then you go into Tuesday. Tuesday, it was notorious at St. Lawrence as Battle Day. So it's a fast turnaround. Get out of the rink at 7:30, do your homework till 10, get to sleep, and then you had to be at the rink at like 6:30 in the morning because it was 8 a.m. Battle Day. And from there, warm up, try to get the body loose early in the morning, try to get something on your stomach. And Tuesday was you go to work. You flip pucks into the corner and just bite down and get through it. I've had some infamous battles on Tuesday mornings. I'm a morning person, so it's really easy for me to get up. I'm sure guys from St. Lawrence, if they listen to this, they can attest that I controlled the speakers or the aux cord on Tuesday mornings, and some hated it because I was only heavy rock, hard rock, just preparing mainly for myself, but preparing other guys to go to war for practice, and then we had the rest of the day to just focus on school. Tuesday was known for people just trying to getting ahead because the upcoming days of the week you're going to either travel, you want to focus and kick all the distractions to the side to focus on the game. Wednesdays we would have lift before practice, and then we would do special team video, power play, penalty kill. That's more of a flow practice, work on special teams. Thursday was kind of similar, and then after Thursday practice we would do scouting, 5-on-5 scouting, offense, defense, neutral zone. And then Friday, depending if we were at home or away, we'd have morning skate, and then just trying to get mentally prepared. We meet to go over final thoughts, and then it was game time.
Your week when you're going through that like very specific routine, was there time dedicated for like individual skill development type things, or was that more of an off-season thing?
You should really focus on skill development in the off season, right? But because we only shared the ice with the women's team at St. Lawrence, you could just text our coaches, "Hey, is there open ice? Can I hop on in between classes?" But the coaches had Monday and Wednesday morning times carved out of their schedule to work on skills, whatever we needed done. Yeah, so that was a thing, but also like what I've learned was like sometimes too much, especially in a grueling season, it would be a lot. So go ride the bike, work on your recovery, because if you keep yourself at 100% or just under 100%, your output's going to be way more productive. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
What about
yeah.
what about the video side? Obviously, you said you guys are doing like team scouting and things. Was the video focused on your own team and on opponent scouting, or was it strictly on the opponent scouting? Like, were you guys evaluating your team and then also looking at the opponents?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, right? You have to command what your identity is as a team. So you would watch video on yourself, reflect, and try to prep for the next weekend. And then also, how does our identity fit or match up against the opponents we were going to play? The one thing about the ECAC is you have different opponents Friday to Saturday. You had travel partners, so our travel partner was Clarkson. If Cornell came up to play us on Friday, we would play Colgate on Saturday. So it's more of a pro structure and trying to
Yeah.
mentally prep for it from Friday to Saturday, which we didn't spend too much time on 5-on-5 scouting because you have to play to your identity, and then the next morning you have to flip the script and focus on how our identity matches against a different opponent,
That's
which
very unique.
I liked it. Even though Saturdays, once you play teams on Friday, if you play the same team Saturday, it's a little bit more intense. You still you have some bad blood boiled over from the night before, but you play in the ECAC for 4 years. You create rivalries. You create people that you
Yeah.
dislike strongly on the other teams. So yeah,
I didn't know that was the case. That's cool. I guess that's one of the luxuries of having so many schools in one general area as opposed to just, flying all over the country or taking long bus rides. Like you can do that in a conference like that because there's overlap between some of where those schools are. That's
yeah.
cool.
I think our furthest travel was when we had to play Princeton. We had to go either Princeton or Quinnipiac on Friday, and then travel 3 hours after the game, and that was our
Amazing.
longest. Sometimes, most of the time, we stayed in the same hotel, and then you just travel with your stuff on Saturday to the new destination, which was like 45 minutes away.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. So that's all. That's all your St. Lawrence time. With you spend 4 years there. Oh, by the way, how did you end up being number 20? Were you 20 when you played 18s? You were 12 at Trenton, right?
12 at Trenton, and
What were
then I
you as a
was
kid? Also, I can't think of it. Were you 87?
six, 16.
Okay, yeah, you were 16.
Yeah,
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
for Bobby Clark. But
Good.
I was 24 at Amarillo, just by random. You don't really have much of a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the numbers available for me were like 7, 19, 24, and 20 for St. Lawrence. And I was just like, yeah, it looks good. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it doesn't really matter at that point. It's just like
Sure.
create your own legacy, do what you please. So that's how I ended up at 20.
Nice. I didn't know. I mean, sometimes people have some like crazy reason and all that. So,
No,
um,
I'm not superstitious at all, and we can go into that, but I
yeah.
know I
So
know
what do you
the
mean? You just switch everything up always, or how do you feel about like what do you mean?
the only thing I'm structured around is time, and it's not like by the minute, by the second. It's just like it gives me it allows me to have enough time to prepare properly for the game. The meals were the same, but that was because it was catered
Mm-hmm.
at St. Lawrence. I wanted enough time to have some time to stick handle, have some time to just like take in what's about to happen. No one at the rink, just sit in the bleachers, listen to some music, and then I wanted to give myself enough time to like stretch, realize what areas of my body were a little bit more sore or tight, and then spend some more time on those type of things to where it wasn't like rushed when we had like our final meeting at 5:30 or like you're running to do off ice prep. So that was kind of my thought
Yeah.
process.
It's all just what makes you feel comfortable. Everyone's just
Yeah,
you got to feel comfortable with what you're about to do.
yeah.
Um, do you have so you end up going to St. Lawrence? You said earlier that you had that extra year of eligibility because of COVID that was shut down. So NCAA granted all those guys another year. And you said at the beginning that you took that as an opportunity to play somewhere else, but then also get started on that next step with your master's. So, what was that experience like going from one school that you were for 4 years to a whole new program, and still also not super far? It's somewhat local, but what was that relation or that experience like?
It was weird, right? Like what I knew of college hockey and what I thought I knew about college hockey was flipped upside down because you're in a new program in a new area and with new guys who have relationships of 3, 4 years, and you're just trying to figure out how you kind of fit into that mold, right? And it was a great experience because from St. Lawrence, being in a desolate area, remote, I was on Long Island. I was 40 minutes away from New York City. Long Island was obviously very developed. The school, however, at the same pace was smaller. You knew a lot of the people that you ran into, and uh, the hockey, for the most part, was pretty much the same, right? The margin of error is so small in Division One college hockey from team to team, whether you're number one in NCAA or you're number 65, I think they have at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that was good, but also the coaching staff and the guys at Long Island made the transition pretty seamless for just those were the type of guys that were great culture, had the same goal in mind. Um, and I think the best part about that was we were very excited about our schedule. Long Island isn't in a conference.
Yeah,
Uh,
independent, correct?
yeah,
So you
they're
just play
independent.
whoever.
Yeah, so we played Notre Dame in October. We played Wisconsin in January. We played against Yale, Colgate, Holy Cross. So I got to see a lot of different teams I didn't get to in my 4 years. And on the flip side, the guys that were at Long Island for 3, 4 years star those games just because they get to prove themselves as a new club and an independent hockey club. So
Yeah, that was one of the first things I looked at yesterday when I was going through earlier this week. I was just going through your schedule of where you played those teams because you obviously when you're in college, it's similar to like when you're in high school and you're playing kind of the same teams year after year that are in your league or in your conference. Even more so in college because you're all just kind of in that same area, and there's only a handful of games that are non-conference that are open for you to select. So I saw exactly what you mentioned that you played at Notre Dame, you played at Wisconsin. Notre Dame, they have that bench. What Compton is it called? Compton Ice Arena. They've
yeah,
got the benches across from each other, right? Is that
yes, they do.
do most of the school like did St. Lawrence and the other schools in ECAC have that? Because I feel like that's a college thing of having the benches across, like some of those old school rinks.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was a Princeton had them right next to each other, but Hobie Baker is probably one of the oldest. I think it is the oldest college hockey rink
I think you're
operating.
right.
Yeah, other than that, I think that's the only. Oh, Dartmouth as well, and those
Okay.
were I think the two in the conference in ECAC that had benches next to each other.
Yeah.
Other than that, they were across, which is just just very
Yeah.
college hockey.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
epitome of college hockey.
completely every time I turn on a random game, and there were even times when I'd be sitting at home and ESPN, I'd ESPN Plus, and I told you this, and I would go and it'd show the games, and it didn't show all the games, but sometimes it would allow me to watch a game, and I would click you on. I'd be like just sitting there doing stuff and hanging out. I'm like, that's Trella playing, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, do you have a specific memory or favorite experience from playing college, or anything that sticks out? I know it's just tough putting you on the spot, but do you have one thing?
We, even though it was 4 teams during COVID, we won the conference, beating Quinnipiac in overtime. And that's, I don't think anything will ever beat that. Another cool feeling was I started in the ECAC finals my senior year at Lake Placid against Cornell with my parents in the building. I think
Mm,
those two top it. one for a sentimental reason and the other because it's a championship, and we went through so much adversity that first year with COVID. I mean, there were some guys who spent 80 days in quarantine and never got COVID. So yeah, when you finally beat adversity and get to the peak of the mountain, it's almost that much more special.
Absolutely. That's what makes it all worthwhile and makes those moments more emotional. You said earlier on in this interview that you had it was one of your three favorite seasons when you were referencing an earlier. What do you have those three figured out? Like, do you know what those three are?
Um, you're putting me on the spot with that one, going back on what I said. Yeah, my first year of Amarillo,
Mm-hmm.
what we got to do, the people I was with, not only did I have 10 guys from Michigan on the team, but the guys who weren't became very close friends of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and very great people. I still reach out to them to this day. Um, my belt tire 18U year, just because, just the experiences. We went all over the country. We just had a really good group, and then my first year at St. Lawrence winning the championship
That's
was
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
They
it
all
was
stick
pretty
out for
special.
different reasons. I mean, those are one at each level, all different reasons behind it. So that's cool.
Yeah,
So last few here. You are someone who, you're a hockey guy through and through. I mean, we talked early at the start this, 6 years old, wanting to be like Crosby, all that stuff, and just playing all the way through and bouncing around all these different levels and finding your own path. Uh, with that, you were a late bloomer physically in how you grew. You were never the tallest guy when you were a kid. Like, you're what, 6'2" now? Are you 6'1",
yeah,
6'2"? So you grew, but it just took a little bit longer. You played an extra year of AAA after graduating high school. So you didn't do what everyone wants, which is immediately get that huge opportunity to go from high school to the USHL or even to the NA right away. So you play that extra year a AAA, then you also play the second year of the NA too. So you used all your eligibility before juniors and all your eligibility in juniors to get that D1 scholarship. Did you test your patience throughout that process? Like, how do you have the resiliency to just see the big picture and keep fighting through?
yeah. Anyone that has a similar story to me, I think I'd like to meet them who didn't test their patience and thought it was going to work out at the end. Injuries were a big piece where I learned how to grow, become mentally stronger, um, and really leaning upon my support system, whether it was my family, my coaches, or just my friends. I think that's a big way to kind of get out of the funk if you're testing your patience. I remember my first year, I got a little homesick, as you will, because being so far away from home, I wasn't finding quick success at Amarillo production wise. You kind of lose sight of your purpose. And I went to the coach's office, and Rocky Russo understood me. He let me speak, and he's like, he opened up his cabinet drawer and put out a book. It was a book called How Champions Think, and he gave me it, and I read that, and I wouldn't say it changed my life forever, but it gave me a good foundation and understanding of what's the mental fortitude it takes to be successful in anything you do in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always remember that and always be grateful for Rocky for being there in the time of need when I was 1,000 miles away from home. That's a big thing that sticks out. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have adversity, you're not pushing yourself to grow.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in your bubble of being comfortable, things come easy, but you also will never achieve your goals. So recognizing that at when I was learning the kind of like the landscape of where I was at, what I was doing, and what was my ultimate goal helped me along the way, and as well helped me reflect back on those things when I was in college, reflecting back to when I was in juniors, or when I was in juniors, reflecting back when I was in youth hockey, that it can be done. Through adversity, there's opportunity, and you'll learn that. And nothing in your life in the moment is as big as it seems. So those are the things when I reflect back on, or kind of the lessons I've learned from hockey. I mean, there's multiple more playing hockey, but when you're looking at adversity, or testing my confidence, or really trying to question what's my purpose, those are the big key moments, or lessons I've learned.
It's an amazing story because, like I said, I mean that not everyone, most people aren't those guys that when they're 16 they get drafted in the USHL or the NA or the OHL or whatever, and then right when they're 18 they graduate high school and they go and play Division 1. Like most people don't have that path. It's that path of just fighting through and sticking it out and making that jump every time and having the patience to believe in yourself and to give it the time to fully develop, and you did that and it paid off obviously. So that's an
Yeah.
amazing story. Did you
Well,
ever
thank you.
almost quit?
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, when I diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I was 5 years old, and the world comes crashing down, and at 5 years old, the only thing you know is you like fruit snacks and apple juice, right? And I was told I can't eat that anymore. And I didn't know if the journey I just started, which was hockey, was like something I would be able to do. But thanks to my parents, I think I was in the hospital, and they just brought article after article about Bobby Clark,
Hmm.
who made
There's the
it.
16 reference.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. Who was the first NHL diabetic, and through time, I got comfortable with what was my new reality with the condition, and lived that from there on out. But looking back at AAA, juniors, even college, no, I don't think that ever crossed my mind. Yeah, until it came to stop this spring.
On the flip side, you had the confidence and the patience the whole time, like you're just saying. You said earlier, you told the story about getting the offer from St. Lawrence. Was there a specific moment before that, like seeing other guys on your team that were committing D1, when you're like, all right, like it's gonna happen for me this year? Like, was there a moment when you're like, I just gotta fight through this part because I know D1's right around the corner?
When I saw 11 guys from my first year of Amarillo make it to Division One, it really reassured that I'm putting my trust in the right places and the right people, because Rocky proceeded to move those guys on, and then had a track record after that of moving guys on. And it's not just like that's the part of business. He was doing it the right way. He was making sure you felt a part of a family, even being away from family. He was making sure that all you wanted to do to get better on the ice, he was carving out time to make sure you were doing the right drills, getting better in the specific parts, and making sure you're practicing the things you need to practice on. And then as soon as you leaned into that, he went to bat for so many guys when it might have not been the right fit at the right school, but he didn't care, because he cared and understood what we were doing was going to be successful at the next level.
So much of your story, I think, is being around good coaching and good people in your life. Like, I mean, you talk about your two, the Bell Tire, Chris Corey, Brian Burke at Honda. You talk about Rocky at Amarillo. You know about how they had such an important part about that next step in your whole journey. So that's really cool, because and it's a reminder to every coach that's listening, because it's like you have such an important role. It's not just helping the team win. Like you're trying to help every single player grow. And if you do that properly, then you're going to have some team success as well. But it
Yeah,
seems like a reoccurring part of your story. It's obviously it all comes down to you as the player.
yeah.
Everything is you, but you have to have those supporting people around you as well.
It
Um,
makes people or kids worry about. playing hockey and not worrying about being an adult once you get into 18U junior hockey, even though every kid's story is different, every kid's background's different. Those pivotal coaches you have in your life just let you be a hockey player at the end of the day.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is a perfect segue for these last couple. Do you have anyone specific? I mean, you've talked so positively about so many people in your life here, but do you have anyone that you wanted to mention that you haven't yet?
I'd say the two college coaches and the sporting staff around them. I mean, I'm still in contact with them a lot. Brent Brecky at St. Lawrence and Brett Riley at Long Island. And the biggest thanks to them is they gave me the opportunity to live out my dream. And whatever success I had or didn't have in college, it doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, my dream was to play college hockey, and I got there. And that opportunity, even though they trusted in me and did their research, they ultimately extended the offers for me to join and have a integral part of their program, and be a part of their college hockey history, which I'm really grateful for.
It's awesome. What
Yeah.
about the family? I mentioned earlier you got great parents. Like I said, I mean, I was bouncing around. I used to go behind the net that Griff's team was shooting on. Be in the offensive zone. I'd see your dad around the net. Talk on your parents real quick, because I know you got a great supporting staff there as well.
Yeah, my whole family. I mean, from my grandparents to my parents to even my sister. Um, I don't think I went to a hockey tournament without all of them, and I don't think I've played a game in Trenton where all of them weren't there.
Mm.
And they sacrificed so much to get me to this point and through my hockey career. Um, Words can express my gratitude and my love for them. Without them, I'm not here today. I don't have the story to tell about how I got to live out my hockey dream, which is, I mean, like I said, words can't describe my love and gratitude for them. And I know how much effort they went to sacrifice what they wanted to do to make sure I was able to live out that dream.
Now you've got I know for sure one nephew that's playing, right? You have
Yeah.
two. Is there two now?
There's two now.
Yeah.
One is in 8U, skating
Hmm.
around the Trenton rinks, and one's just learning to play. And the niece, who's only 2 years old, is taking a liking to hockey, which I feel bad for my sister because she's going to be dragged in three separate directions at a
Yeah.
certain point in her life. But all of them love hockey. They're now a hockey family. Bentley's obsessed with it. His
Hmm.
favorite player is Datsuk, which is odd enough. Like, he never got to see Datsuk play,
Yeah.
but he's such an early student of the game, and it's so cool to see little kids develop exponentially their
Yeah.
first couple years, which hopefully one day that's in my future as well to watch my kids grow up and play hockey.
Well, St. Lawrence has a men's team, and you already mentioned they have a women's team too. So maybe the nephews and the niece can follow to the same school years from now.
That would be that would be exceptional. I don't know if it's in my sister's plans, but that would be really cool to see.
What is your relationship with hockey right now? You said you haven't been to a rink since you've started this new chapter, working and living in New York. But what do you feel about hockey? Are you excited to watch hockey at all, or what's that relationship like?
Yeah, I love hockey, right? Like, even though love is strained, or a love hate relationship might pop up, I'm very at peace with where my life's at, what hockey meant to me and still means to me. I'm very excited for the Detroit Red Wings hockey season,
Hmm.
I, and hockey in general. I'm looking forward to watching college hockey. I'm looking forward to having the chance to go back at Christmas time and watch my nephews play, and ultimately watch as much hockey as I can at the NHL level.
Absolutely. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. This has been a great conversation. Is there anything else to touch on before we close up here? I've went through a whole list of stuff. We've covered a lot, almost an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, I like to talk, you covered a lot of great topics, and then I'm sure there's probably another hour if I could go on.
Absolutely.
But I just want to say thank you. Also, thank you for what you're doing to the Downriver hockey community. I feel like you're trying so hard to bring it to the public's eye, getting support around it, and growing the game of hockey in Michigan. So I thank you for that. Even
Appreciate it.
though you might not hear it all the time, it, I'm one that's very appreciative of your efforts, Griff's efforts, and in growing the game in the Downriver area.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
That's big. That's big. So, thank you. No, this is good
yeah,
stuff. It's been a great conversation, and look forward to. We'll probably have to do another one down the road and get into some other stuff.
yeah. Sounds good. Maybe we can bring on more people and have it more of a round table.
Absolutely, that'd be good for sure.
Yeah,
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Nick.
absolutely. Thank you.